The storm had arrived too early. Darian's boots sank into the gray dust of Zareth, as the first radioactive winds howled across the wasteland. The warning sirens had only just begun to wail from the outpost spire behind him, already muffled by the rising gale. Purple lightning cracked the horizon, and the air rippled with a heat that wasn't just temperature. It was energy, lethal and invisible. He should have stayed in the dome. But something had pulled him outside. A flicker of movement caught on the edge of a sensor, flagged as possible organic. It wasn't unusual for small scavenger creatures to move about, even during radiation spikes, but something about this reading had felt different, bigger, bright. His breath rasped in his rebreather as he trudged toward the ruined valley slope. Zareth, had once been lush, before the mining wars and the orbital bombardments. Now it was a graveyard of glassified hills and skeletal structures, leftover bones of a forgotten colony. Then he saw her, half buried in debris, clutching a chunk of slagged metal for shelter, was a figure wrapped in tatters of high-grade cloth and armor fragments. Darian blinked. The sensor had been right, this was no rodent. This was a person. "Hey!" he shouted through the distortion. His voice vanished. The winds were too strong now. He activated his shoulder comm. "I'm getting you out of here." The woman stirred barely. Her helmet was cracked. Radiation seeped into her bloodstream by the second. He sprinted the last 20 meters, lungs aching. Dropping to his knees beside her, he saw her skin had gone pale blue, a sign of early radiation exposure in certain species. She wasn't Terran. Her lips moved. "Storm, help." "I know," he said, unbuckling his cloak. It was lined with a rad-absorbent weave, designed to shield humans for about 20 minutes in open fallout. Without it she had minutes, maybe less. Darian wrapped it tightly around her, tucking the edges beneath her body. He hoisted her up, she was light but limp, and turned back toward the dome. He could see the silhouette blinking in the stormlight like a distant lighthouse. Then the second wave of the storm hit. Radiation levels spiked. His visor flickered. Heat surged through his suit, alarms screaming. He stumbled, fell, then forced himself up, each step like dragging weights through lava. The woman in his arms trembled, then went still. "Not yet," he gasped. "You're not dying out here." 50 meters to the gate. 40. 30. He collapsed at 15. But the gate hissed open, and medics in full suits surged out, grabbing them both. A lead-lined stretcher swallowed the woman. He was yanked inside, mask ripped off, a needle jabbed into his neck. Then darkness. Darian woke to sterile light and the soft hum of the recovery bay. His skin felt like it had been flayed and reattached, but at least he could breathe. A nurse droid chirped. "Welcome back, Darian Griv. You've been unconscious for 16 hours. Radiation levels stabilized. One fractured rib. Minor burns. Organ function, within acceptable thresholds." He groaned, sitting up. "The woman. The one I brought in." The droid paused, then tilted its head. "You are to be debriefed shortly." That wasn't an answer. Minutes later the door opened. Not a doctor, not a soldier, but a woman in polished navy armor, insignia etched into the breastplate, 2 stars crossed with a phoenix emblem. She was tall, severe, with dark eyes that carried a weight no soldier could fake. "Darian Griv," she said. "Stand if you can." He swung his legs off the bed. "Name and rank." "Commander Eris Valen. Royal Guard." He blinked. "Wait, Royal." She motioned to the door. "Come with me. There's someone who wants to see you." The central atrium of Outpost Theta had been cleaned and reinforced, but it still bore the scars of war, cracked walls, scorched support beams. Soldiers snapped to attention as they passed, and Darian began to realize something had changed since he blacked out. The base felt formal, different. Then he saw her. She stood beneath the great skylight, bathed in white gold rays filtered through the dome's shielding. Her skin now glowed with health, a pale silvery sheen that shimmered like frost under the lights. She wore a robe stitched with noble symbols, royal house markings from the core worlds, if Darian remembered right. The woman he had saved. The woman who now looked like she belonged on a throne. He turned. Her eyes met his. Everyone else left the room. "You didn't know who I was," she said softly. "No," he said. "Just saw someone dying in the storm." She stepped forward. "You gave me your cloak. That thing was protecting you. You could have died. I figured you needed it more." For a moment she was quiet. Then she said, "I am Princess Elira Vex of the Oriel line, ruler-in-waiting of the 11th sector. I was on Zareth, 4 under disguise, visiting rebel territories. My craft was shot down. I was alone for 2 days. Until you." Darian exhaled. "A princess." He scratched the back of his neck. "You really had me fooled. I was supposed to. Political tensions. Espionage. It's all a game, and I nearly lost mine." He looked at her again more carefully now. "And now," she smiled faintly, "now the galaxy knows I lived, because of you. That will carry weight." "Don't want weight," he muttered. "Just wanted to save someone." "You did more than that," she said, stepping closer. "You made a choice without knowing who I was. You acted selflessly in the face of death. I've lived among nobles and generals my entire life. None of them would have done what you did." There was silence for a moment. Then she added, "So tell me, what do you want?" Darian was discharged 2 days later, fit to return to his usual scavenger runs. But he never made it to the docks. He was intercepted by 2 members of the Royal Guard, who escorted him aboard a gleaming cruiser that rose into the stars, bound for the capital. Officially, he was to receive the Order of the Veil, the highest civilian honor in the 11th sector. Unofficially, he was now a subject of galactic fascination, the low-born ex-miner who had saved a princess in a radioactive storm. The court tried to court him. Politicians sent gifts. Nobles offered land, ships, titles. He refused them all. Until Elira summoned him again. They walked together in the garden halls of the Palace Moon, artificial wind-rustling trees imported from 20 worlds. "You still don't want a reward?" she asked. "I don't need one," Darian said. "I didn't save you for a payout." "No, you didn't." She paused beneath a flowering tree. "But you also don't belong in the dust of Zareth anymore. There's something about you. The galaxy noticed. And you." She turned to face him. "I want you to stay. Not as a servant. Not as a soldier. Just as yourself. A presence I trust in a world full of masks." Darian swallowed. "That's dangerous talk. People might think you've gone soft." She smiled. Let them wonder why the princess walks with the man from the wasteland." In the months that followed, Darian found himself at her side more often than not. Not because of duty, but because she made space for him. Because her gaze didn't carry the weight of royalty when it was just them, when she laughed at his dry sarcasm or challenged him to training duels he always lost. The galaxy changed around them. Wars settled. Treaties signed. But the bond between a scavenger who once wore a torn cloak and a princess reborn in a radioactive storm, that remained untouched.